Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable business brokers across the country. The Great Resignation is in the news, and we're here to talk business. Joining me on this segment is Phil Reese with West USA. Phil, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mark.
Phil, tell us a little bit about your work, and specifically, who are the types of folks that you specialize in helping?
Well, I've been a business broker since 2001, and I got into the business because I sold my business through a business broker in 2001. And the firm that sold my company, I became friends with the owner of the firm, and he asked me to join the company after the business was sold. So I got my real estate license and became a business broker in 2001, and I've been selling businesses ever since.
So,
And
Phil, the people talk about the Great Resignation, and people are leaving their Dilbert Cube jobs all across America. And I imagine they have to be like going into something else. And I imagine there's an uptick in folks looking at buying a business or going into their own business. What have you seen out there in the market?
absolutely, in the 20 years I've been doing this, I have seen more buyers in the market last year than any time since I've been doing this. For instance, last year I had 12 listings. 9 of those closed last year. 2 of them are in escrow. And then my final listing from last year should be going into escrow tomorrow. In fact, one of the people who actually made an offer, we have 2 people who are interested. He actually was in corporate America and left corporate America and said, if I'm going to work 12 to 14 hours a day, I want to do it for myself. So he definitely getting those type of people in the market right now. So it's a very hot market.
So let's speak about the elephant in the room, this great pandemic that we're on the tail end of now that never seems to end. Is it really an okay time to start a business? Are there really advantages now?
Absolutely. It's a great time. Business is booming. Now, when the pandemic first started, like in March of 2020, it definitely affected our industry. There was a slowdown for a while. In Arizona, several of the businesses that I had listed actually had to shut the doors because of the shutdown of all these different businesses and all these mask mandates. So it was tough in 2020, but in 2021, at least in Arizona, it's come roaring back, and it's the hottest market I've ever seen.
So, these folks that are leaving their Dilbert cubes and wanting to go to business themselves, I kind of compare this to people, getting married and choosing wedding vendors. It's probably the first time they're even looking at something like this. Uh, do folks even know what to ask you when they reach out? Or what is like the biggest questions that you get from folks when they first reach out to you to buy a business?
Yeah, so sometimes I'll get people who are experienced buyers, like private equity groups who they do this for a living. Other times I'll get strategic buyers, people who are already in the industry. But I would say the majority are first-time buyers, just individuals, and they're pretty green. They don't know really anything. So they call and say, hey, Phil, I've worked at corporate America for 20, 30 years. I'm sick of it. I want to own my own business. What's the process? So I just basically take them by the hand and guide them through the whole process, from how to find a business. Once we find a business, how do we make an offer? If they don't have all the cash, how do they finance the business? And then how do we actually get through the due diligence process? How do we close? And then what do they need to do after the closing? So yes, a lot of them know nothing. So I have to take them through the whole process.
So you mentioned something that inspired a question. You mentioned folks that are experienced business buyers that buy businesses. They've done it before. They're in business or entrepreneurs, and the strategic buyer that's probably looking to expand and acquire. Are you seeing an uptick in both of those as well?
Yes, all three, from inexperienced to strategic buyers to the private equity groups. I'm getting more and more calls all the time. Yes.
What are their number one objectives? Are they finding that prices are down and it's a great opportunity to expand, or tell us what they're taking advantage of now?
Well, actually, prices have been very stable. We're getting full asking price to near full asking price on almost all of my listings. So it's definitely not like a bottom feeder market right now. People are paying premiums for good quality businesses because right now there are actually more buyers than sellers. There are more good buyers than there are actually good businesses. So for the larger businesses where the profit is over $1 million, there's a feeding frenzy. The private equity groups will make there'll be multiple offers for one single business in that realm.
Fascinating. So, Phil, for the new buyers out there, there must be. We're in this information overload society now. Is there a lot of is there a big myth or misconception that you hear out there in regards to what it takes to buy a business? What's the biggest misconception that you hear out there?
Well, sometimes people call me, especially inexperienced buyers, and they think that they could actually buy a business with no money down. Um, because you hear all these real estate seminars where you can buy real estate for no money down, but it really doesn't work that way with businesses. You usually have to have some capital to purchase it. In the past, most businesses transactions, people would come in with at least 50% cash down, and then the seller would carry a note for the balance for 3 to 5 years. And then when the markets get hot, then a lot of times people will pay all cash. But right now, a lot of the buyers who don't have all cash, we're able to get them financing. So they can actually get down, buy a business for almost no money down, for 10 to 20% down. If they have a good credit score and they have some relevant experience that can be applicable to the business that they're looking at, then I can take them to a bank and get them in for 10 to 20% down. But as far as somebody coming in with no experience, no credit, no cash, it's really not practical that they can buy a business, at least a good business.
Great insight. Phil, you mentioned like you got into the business after having sold your own business. Can you kind of take us back a little bit and like what was that inspiration that you wanted to do this business? Well, how did you get started?
Well, my partner and I, we started a security screen door company here in Arizona called First Impression Security Doors. And we built that up. And then we were to a point where we were going to have to take it to the next level, where we are going to have to actually get more equipment and probably take on some debt. So we said, well, maybe we can look into selling the business. So at the time, there were still yellow pages. So I actually looked into the yellow pages and there was a business broker section. And I interviewed 3 different business brokers. And they told me, hey, I think we can sell your business for X amount. And I was like, oh my goodness, if you can sell our business for that, I think I would like to take advantage of that. So we hired a company in Tempe, Arizona, and listed the business. And sure enough, we were able to find a buyer who actually paid cash for the business. And during that process, the owner of the business broker company said, hey, Phil, what are you going to do after this? And I said, well, I'm going to take a break. And then who knows? I don't know. I'm an entrepreneur. He said, well, you'd be perfect to sell businesses because the best business brokers are past entrepreneurs. And so I said, well, let me think about it. So after my training and consulting period with the business and the new owners, I called up that gentleman and said, hey, were you serious? He said, yes, come on in. So I went in, talked to him. I said, let's give it a shot. So I went ahead and said, well, I'll get my license. I'll sell businesses. And then maybe I'll find a business that I'll just buy and be an entrepreneur. But in 20 years, I actually haven't found a business that I like more than what I do now. Just helping other entrepreneurs cash out and retire or do other things. And I like to help people have the American dream. Instead of working for a company for 20 years and getting nothing out of it, they can build something. And then hopefully someday they can sell their business like I did and cash out and have a great retirement.
And that's a great way to scratch that entrepreneurial itch because you get to live your life like vicariously through various different businesses. So that's probably really fascinating too.
It is. It's never boring.
Phil, so before I ask you my last question, if somebody was looking to sell their business or somebody's looking to buy a business, what should they look for, and what's the most important thing they should consider when choosing a business broker to work with?
Yeah, so when choosing a business broker, the best thing to do would be to find somebody who has at least a few years experience in the industry. And then they can usually find a business broker through the IBBA, which is the International Business Broker Association, which I'm a member of. And that's the largest trade group in the industry. So if somebody is in, say, California, they can just go to the IBBA.org and type in, I want to find a business broker in California. and it'll show a list of all the IBBA members. And then also the next step I would say is to try to find a business broker who has the CBI designation, which stands for Certified Business Intermediary. That's a designation that is granted by the International Business Broker Association. And so I would say the difference between like a regular business broker and somebody who has a CBI would be like the difference between hiring a bookkeeper and a CPA. The CPA just has a higher level of knowledge and more education. You'll know that that person will probably do a good job for you. So to get the CBI designation, you have to pass all kinds of courses on business valuation, on how to market and sell a business, financing, and then you have to take a 2-hour test and pass the test. And then you have to continuously take education and go to conferences all around the country to stay up to date on all the different skills that it takes to be a business broker, because laws are changing all the time. Ways of getting financing are changing all the time. So that's what I would recommend to someone first, is to go to the IBBA.org to find a competent business broker, and then just see who you have rapport with. And just, if you're new, just say, hey, I'm new, I need help. Can you assist me in finding a good business?
Phil, do you work relatively locally, or can you also help people nationally?
I just work in the Arizona market. So if somebody calls me from out of state, I will just refer them to somebody who is a member of the IBBA.
Gotcha. So, Phil, for folks that are in Arizona that could use your help in either maybe selling their business or looking for a business to buy, how do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
The best way is just to go to my website, which is philsellsbiz.com. They can also just type in Phil Reese business broker, and I'll come up on the first page. And they can go to my website, and they can get a lot of valuable information on selling their business or on buying a business. And then they can call me. My cell phone number is 480-707-7721.
This has been terrific, Phil. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with my audience today. And I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Mark, thank you very much. It was a pleasure joining you today.
That was Phil Reese with West USA, and this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.